Just because October has finished, it doesn't mean that Halloween is over. Welcome back everyone, I'm so happy to be back talking about the series and movies that I watched over the month of October. I've watched many new stuff, I rewatched things that I hated at first but now I loved. So I have many series and movies that I want to talk about with all of you. Like I have done previously on my Letterboxd Recap videos, I talked first about the series that I finished and I'm talking about from like the worst to the best series. And also on the movies part, I will separate them into non-horror and horror. The non-horror movies, I will just like talk about them like overall. About the horror movies, I will separate them into different categories like half star, 1 star to 5 stars films. So let's kick off this video with the series that I watched over the month of October. And the worst series, and I blame myself for watching this, is Jersey Shore season 21. Now I'm not gonna talk about this, like the name itself says what kind of show this is. So the next series that I watched is the first season of Queer as Folk from 1999. Now I was really excited to watch this series because obviously like this queer representation is like it's quite old, so and back in that era seeing queer content was kind of challenging, so knowing that there is a series about queer people in 1999 is actually like very impressive. But I have to say that I didn't really like too much the approach that this series was trying to give. I didn't like the characters, the acting was quite bad. But if you watch this, just think that this is not like the best queer representation out there. The next series that I watched is Grey's Anatomy season 17. Now, as you know, Grey's Anatomy is my favorite show of all time. Like I love this series so much and I'm so excited that I finally could watch this season because obviously it got postponed, and here in the UK the only platform that is streaming Grey's Anatomy is Disney Plus, and they take a while before like uploading a new season. So I was really happy with this. It's 3.5 stars just because I think it was quite kind of like repetitive and it was related with like COVID and everything, so it was kind of like annoying because when you watch a show, when you watch like a movie, you want to rest from like your real world, and watching this season being about COVID was like kind of tiring. The next series that I watched, it was a first time watch and it's the first season of Modern Family. Now, I have to say that this is probably like the funniest series that I have watched because I love watching this, and I started watching this with my boyfriend. We loved it, we laughed so much because obviously we identify with the gay couple that is in the series. Also I identify so much with Gloria, so like you identify with many different kind of characters. I would really recommend watching Modern Family. I'm so excited to watch the rest of the series. The next series that I watched is a Marvel one, and that is She-Hulk. Now I gave this series 4 stars because it's been a second since I had so much fun with a Marvel movie or series, because the last few movies and series they've been kind of like serious, but She-Hulk is very self-aware. And the last series that I watched, and I want to talk about this, is 101 Scariest Horror Movies of All Time, released in Shudder. It's a Shudder original. Now first things first, I'm really appreciate that this exists because obviously we love when horror becomes like a big topic in streaming platforms, because we are celebrating like the best scary moments of all time, even though that can be a bit subjective because some moments that for me are very scary didn't make the list, but that's okay. I'm just here for like to see horror being great represented. Also I really appreciate that the way Shadow did this is that they brought many big names from like the horror community and to explain why they chose those scary moments. And I would really recommend this, of course, if you're a horror fan, because it's like we love celebrating our mother. Now when it comes to non-horror movies, I watched 4 of them and 3 of them are queer films, and those movies are Single All the Way, Bros and Fire Island. I don't know what was it, but I was really in the mood to watch queer content. I liked all of these films overall. I think the representation is always great. Bros is like it's a new release. I didn't like it too much, but just because it was way too stereotype and I really didn't appreciate that. And the other 2 also great films, like I had so much fun with them, I will rewatch them so much. And the last non-horror film that I watched will be the sequel of Hocus Pocus, released this year. Now, I watched this like literally on Halloween, on the 31st of October. I absolutely love this film. I think it's so cute. I think it's a great sequel to the original. I love the original, of course. I think the sisters, they're so iconic, they're so funny. Like, I think they're funnier than in the first film. Before I talked about the movies that I watched, I just want to give some movies that I'm not gonna mention on this video because those movies will be included in upcoming videos. Those movies are the two Terrifiers, the 2016 and the 2022 one, the newest Terrifier film. I'm gonna do a whole comparison for my horror movie duo series. The other two films that I watched that I'm not gonna include is because I'm gonna do a whole ranking for the Halloween franchise. So I watched Halloween 3 and Halloween 4. Another film that I watched that I'm not gonna talk about it today, that will be the new HELLRAISER film, because I'm planning to do a whole HELLRAISER ranking and talking about those movies because it's the first time watching every single one. The other two films that I'm gonna talk about today is Hellfest from 2018 and Hunt from 2019, and it's because I'm gonna do a whole comparison of those movies for another series that I'm planning to do, which is look-alike horror movies. And the last film that I'm not gonna talk about on this video is Halloween Ends, and that's because I did a whole review and ranting of this film. If you want to check that video, I will leave the link up here. Now, when it comes to horror movies, let's talk about the worst horror movies that I watched over the month of October, and I want to kick off that list with the newest horror film released this year, and that will be Pray for the Devil. Now, what can I say about this? The only thing that I'm gonna say is, for the first time in my life, I walked out of the theater, and I nowadays, like even until now, I feel so like disappointed because obviously I love to support films. There is one thing, and is that when a movie is very cliche, when a movie is like, it's very lazy, you just feel bored. And I think Pray for the Devil is the perfect example of cliche and cheap jump scare. I was so bored with this film. That's why it's half star, because it just doesn't bring anything new to the table. The next film will be a new film too, and that will be My Best Friend's Exorcism. Now, this is a new release from Prime. Again, I was really bored with this film, and it's such a shame because the concept like sounds interesting, because obviously this could have been like the best teenage horror movie of this year, and it's actually based on a book. I haven't read the book, so I don't know how accurate it is, but again, this movie falls in being cheap and being like having cliches. I think this movie wanted to be a copycat of Jennifer's Body, and also the soundtrack from this film, it doesn't belong to it because that soundtrack is badass, but the film really is really a flop. Another new film that I gave 2 stars, which means it's been a disappointment, that will be the newest Disney Plus or Hulu original, and that is Dream Cootie. Now, and again, boring film. I don't know what it is with the newest releases when it comes to streaming platforms, but they've been really a flop for me. This movie is 2022. This movie just doesn't work in this era. This could have worked so easily like in late 2000s, early 2010, because I'm sure if I would have watched this movie when I was a teenager or a kid, this would have traumatized me. Now, when it comes to 2.5 stars, the first one will be another new release, and that will be Smile. Now, I watched this with my boyfriend. We were really excited to watch this film because obviously it was like our first time watching horror at the big screen together. So I have to say that this movie took itself way too serious for what it was trying to give. I think this could have been better if it was comedy horror, because obviously this concept and the visual, especially the last scenes, they were really comedic, like they were not really horrifying. But I think it was a copycat of many different kind of films. For example, It Follows and The Invisible Man, and even Final Destination. Another film that I watched that is 2.5 stars, that will be Solo, a Netflix original. I don't want to talk too much about this film because I will include this in a upcoming ranking. But I just have to say that I really appreciate that this movie took place on my hometown, which is like Canary Islands. The next film will be another new release, and that will be Werewolf by Night by Marvel. Now, I don't know if this is unpopular because I've seen people giving this film 4 stars, 5 stars, which is like fair enough, we all have different opinions. But in my case, I didn't really enjoy this film because personally, I'm not a big fan of black and white films. like nowadays. I do understand the reason why they decided to have this like kind of like color palette, like black and white, but it just wasn't for me because the movie had many gore, the movie had many kills, and the storyline was entertaining, but because it was black and white, it really took me away. Now when it comes to 3 stars and 3 stars and a half, the first film will be like an old release, but it was a first time for me, and that will be the remake The High Chair from 2007. Now I was really excited to watch this film. I enjoyed it, like 3 stars is not too bad for this film. And I really liked the storyline. I think it was very realistic, even though some decisions were really dumb. I also like the characters. I love how this movie has like not many characters, like only 3 that are important. But the main reason why I gave this film 3 stars is because the villain, it doesn't look disturbing or scary. Like this villain is so handsome for this role, you know. Like now the next film, and I'm so excited to talk about it, is Poltergeist, the original. And I have to say that this was my first time watching this movie, and I'm so thankful because I watched this at the 40th anniversary at the big screen. Now Poltergeist is a gorgeous film. I think Poltergeist is the mother of like haunted movies, if that makes sense. I really love this film. I think like the visuals are so gorgeous, the storyline is so cute, and the family is like, it feels so real. Although I have to say the middle act was dragging, but the end, the finale is really worth it the wait. The next 2 films are new releases, and the first one will be Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Now this might be controversial, but I absolutely love this film. I think this movie is so gorgeous, and I really like that the movie made me feel like somebody was reading a book to me, and like that kind of makes sense. I think the storyline was very cute too. It was not, obviously it's not really horror, it's more drama than horror, but it worked for me. Like I felt entertained, it didn't bore me. I was actually like very interested in the storyline, but I think it's really worth it, especially like in this time of the year when it like fall and winter. It's very cozy. And the other new release will be Don't Worry Darling. Now I know it's been a while since this movie came out, but it was my first time. I have to say that even though this movie is not too unique or too original, I had a good time. I think the visuals are really great. I think the commentary is also really great, and a comment that I wrote on my Letterboxd is that if straight guys could do this, they would. And what is the lie? Where is the lie? Now the next category is 4 stars and 4 stars and a half, and the first one will be a short film, and that's Teeth. Now I have to say that I watched this movie at uni because the director came along and she wanted like to give a seminar about her movie and like how was pre-production, production and post-production, and I really appreciated that because obviously her storyline was kind of inspiring, and I really recommend this short film like whenever you can find it, because it was very unnerving. Like I was really uncomfortable while watching this film. And the next film will be Ready or Not. Again, this movie, what can I say that hasn't been said before? I'm planning to do something, and you will see that this movie will come up in the future. But overall, this movie is gorgeous. I think it's one of the best looking films from the last decade. Yes, I said it. The last 4 stars film that I watched is Halloween Kills. Again, nothing much to say about this film. I loved it. I think I'm one of the minority that loves this film because this movie is very hated by the community. This is just one of the best slashers out there because it's like Michael is Abados is the best Michael out of the whole franchise, and people are hating on the film. Fair enough, but I think as a gore and as a slasher fan, this movie really amazed me. And the last film that we're gonna talk about today is another first watch for me, and that will be The Lost Boys. I know I'm late to the party, but I'm just really glad that my first time watching this movie was at the big screen for the 35th anniversary from The Lost Boys. Now, if you know me, you know that I love vampires, and this movie gave me what I wanted to watch. I love the characters, I love the villains, I love the vibes. Like this movie has so many great cozy vibes, I love them. I was really entertained the whole time. Since this is the end of the video, I'm going to give the worst and the best series and movies that I watched over the month of October. So the worst series that I watched, that will be Jersey Shore season 2021. What can I say about this? Like, It's Jersey Shore, like, come on, this has to be the worst thing that I watched in the month of October. And the best series that I watched, and you will be surprised, but that will be the first season of Modern Family. I know, I just had so much fun with this series. I laughed so much. I had such a good time watching this with my partner. Now, it's not a secret for anyone that the worst movie that I watched over the month of October is Pray for the Devil. Now, lazy. Something that makes me really angry with this film is that why this film got a theatrical release. That makes me really mad, because many great films are being released directly into streaming, but these kind of films get a theatrical release. It just doesn't make sense for me. And the best film that I watched over the month of October, you will be surprised, but that will be the new HELLRAISER. I'm not gonna talk about this film because obviously I'm planning to do a HELLRAISER ranking, or like talking about the HELLRAISER movies, and obviously I'm gonna include this movie on that list. That was everything that I watched over the month of October. Let me know in the comment section below what kind of series and movies did you watch. I would love to discover new stuff. Thank you so much for all the support. I will see you in the next video. Have a nice end of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.